Now, with more on the latest developments in Iraq is Theo Sitther. He's the Legislative Secretary for Peace-Building Policy with the Friends Committee on National Legislation. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
He's saying Iraqi needs a unity government, and yet, as we pointed out, there's continued fighting just about every pocket, it seems like. How likely is that?
I think, given the current state of affairs, it's hard to see a unity government forming. However, I think there is a need for a political solution in Iraq. The Secretary is right in highlighting the fact that there is a governance problem in Iraq. But at the same time, I think we have to recognize that while our rhetoric has been good in Iraq so far, our policies over the last decade have inflamed sectarian tensions.
You bring up sectarian tensions. We just mentioned what had happened at the Golden Mosque, of course, in 2006. This triggered a number of sectarian incidents, a lot of violence. Are we going to see kind of a repetition of some of these things that we've lived through already? I mean, it's a powder keg in a sense, isn't it?
Right. I think we may see a repetition of what has happened in the past, but the events of the past 2 weeks has already been a repetition. And this is where the U.S. can play a role to bring the political players together. There are moderate Sunni tribal leaders who could come to the table to negotiate a political solution to what the insurgents are carrying out at the moment.
Let's talk about this, the move to name this the Islamic State, stretching through Iraq and parts of Syria. It's one thing to say that's what we are. It's another thing to actually be that. Which one are we seeing?
I think this is the recognition that this group has moved very fast, moved with extreme violence and extreme power. And it highlights a failure of U.S. policies over the last number of decades in this region, in Iraq, and I think pouring more military aid to a sectarian government isn't going to work. And I think Iraq can stay together, but it involves a good amount of work from all the different players, including the regional players such as Iran, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Syria plays a role in this as well.
You mentioned all of those players. We know that Iran has drones. We heard the Prime Minister of Iraq saying that he was going to lean on Russia for jets. He needs to bomb these insurgents. The United States isn't coming to their aid. We're seeing a lot of players moving in there. Does that make it better or worse?
I think when you have so many different power players moving into a complex conflict situation as this, it just makes it more complex and more hard to resolve. I think we need to look at the long term, address the immediate humanitarian crises, address the grievances of the Sunni minority, especially in northern Iraq and along the Syrian border, and bring them into the political process and include them in an inclusive democratic government, which hasn't been done so far. And I think the U.S. holds a lot of responsibility in this, and I think it'll be on us to take responsibility and to move ahead.
Well, we'll certainly keep our eye on it. Theo, thanks so much for coming in and visiting with us this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Glad to be here.